¿Roncas? ¿Jadeas cuando duermes? ¿Te sientes exhausto? Despierta con Zepbound, tirzepatida, la primera y única medicina recetada aprobada por la FDA para la apnea obstructiva del sueño AOS de moderada a severa en adultos con obesidad. Zepbound es una medicina inyectable recetada que podría ayudar a los adultos con apnea obstructiva del sueño AOS de moderada a severa y obesidad a mejorar su AOS. Zepbound debe usarse con una dieta baja en calorías y más actividad física. La inyección de Zepbound está aprobada en inyección de 2.5, 5, 7.5, 10, 12.5 o 15 miligramos. Zepbound contiene tirzepatida y no debe utilizarse con otros productos que contengan tirzepatida ni con ningún medicamento agonista del receptor GLP-1. Se desconoce si Zepbound es seguro y eficaz en niños. No compartas agujas ni plumas, ni reutilices las agujas. No uses Zepbound si eres alérgico a este o si tú o un familiar han tenido cáncer medular de tiroides o síndrome de neoplasia endocrina múltiple tipo 2. Infórmale al médico si tienes un bulto o inflamación en el cuello. Suspende Zepbound y llama al médico si tienes problemas estomacales severos o una reacción alérgica severa. Serios efectos secundarios podrían incluir páncreas inflamado o problemas de vesícula. Infórmale al médico sobre cambios de visión, depresión o pensamientos suicidas antes de procedimientos con anestesia programados. Si estás lactando, embarazada, planeas estarlo o estás tomando pastillas anticonceptivas. Usar Zepbound con sulfonilurea o insulina puede causar niveles bajos de azúcar en la sangre. Efectos secundarios incluyen náusea, diarrea y vómito, lo que puede causar deshidratación y empeorar problemas renales. Habla con tu médico. Llama al 1-800-545-5979 o visita zepbound.lily.com/ES.
Bienvenidos a Seguritos Macabro Podcast. Yo soy Dee.
Yo soy Ali.
And this week we return to Edna, Texas for the second part of our interview with Jacqueline Medina and Angie, the family of Lizbeth Medina.
In the second part of this episode, Jacqueline and Angie take us through the court proceedings, sharing where they feel the system failed them and their loved one. They offer heartfelt advice for others navigating similar experiences and reflect on the ways they continue to honor Lizbeth's memory and carry her legacy forward. Advertencia: la información de este caso puede ser desencadenante para algunos. Tenga en cuenta que algunos de estos casos pueden involucrar menores de edad, abuso, violación o violencia. Escuchen con precaución.
Warning: the information on this case can be triggering to some. Please be advised that some of these cases may involve children, abuse, rape, and violence. Listen with caution.
We were going to go into, unless you have something else to say, we were going to go into the court process of the case. Okay. If you want to talk about that.
No, yeah, let's do it.
Based on what you've told us, you guys entered like a plea deal of some sort, mm-hmm. or how was it? How was the whole court process for you guys?
Well, from the beginning, it was very difficult because Jackson County DA and ADA victims assistants, they didn't communicate anything with us. A lot of these hearings, I would find out from other people, and it would infuriate me because I clearly had told them, I need to be there. It don't matter if it's just a simple motion. It doesn't matter what it is. I want to be there at every single one of these courts. And so it was very difficult to get their attention. So I started doing my interviews, doing what I know how to do. And they finally caught on and said, okay, you know what? We're going to start sending you the information, this and that, just to have me quiet, I guess. And even then, they kept pushing back the trial. I think it got pushed back 3-4 times, if I can remember correctly. And it was just upsetting because I felt like they had enough evidence. They had everything they needed. It should be a faster process. I don't know if you remember the Lake and Riley case. Her case happened months after Lizbeth, and her case was resolved in November when we should have been going to trial for Lizbeth. And then they kept delaying it. So that was one of the questions I asked. I said, hey, Lake and Riley's case is processed already. They're in Atlanta, Georgia, such a bigger place to be. They have more things going on. Why can't little Jackson County get their shit together. I kept getting different answers every single time. So that process was way, way difficult. And they finally, they finally gave him a plea deal, which it doesn't justify, I guess the right words are, it doesn't show, the punishment isn't equivalent to what he did to my daughter. I was expecting more. He was first charged with murder, and then a jury decided that they were going to indict him with capital charges. So they upped his charges to capital murder. So that's what he should have gotten punished for, capital murder, which in the state of Texas, it's either the death penalty or life in prison. So the plea deal was definitely a no-go from the beginning. And the fact that they even offered it was just like a slap in the face for the family.
Can you explain to us what the plea deal was for him?
Yeah, so I guess a lot of people are very confused about it because they're like, oh, he's going to be in jail for the rest of his life, blah, blah, blah. And it's like, he has a possibility of parole. He has two sentences of life in prison with the possibility of parole. So in the state of Texas, that's 30 years. And those two charges, or those two run concurrently. So he's really only going to do 30 years and then he's up for parole. Like, we want him to be in prison for the rest of his life and not even have the possibility of that. I'm sure you saw the video, and would you want that person back out in the street?
No,
everything he
definitely
did in his mindset and the way he thinks and his disgusting self. No, you don't want that person to even have a possibility of parole. And so they stacked on top of that robbery or burglary of habitation, and that charge falls, at the end of the day, if he's given credit, and he does day and night, he ends up doing 5 to 7 years on that charge, if anything, which he's already done 2 years, so they give him that for credit. So in a total, if you think about it, he's only going to do about 35 years by the time that he's up for parole.
Yeah, so he should be like 60 years old maybe when he's out of prison, if he gets, let out. Which is totally unfair.
That's
because
crazy,
of what he
right?
did. And yeah, and definitely it is a slap in the face, because there's no rhyme and reason on why that can be a possibility to even bring to the table, especially the severeness of the murder and the evidence that they have that this is not the first time he did it, which is like he repeatedly did things like this before. So it's like he is, basically a threat to society, and that didn't come into the reason why he should get more time in prison or get the death penalty, which is crazy. Do you think that
because I was gonna say, sorry, because this might not be the first time that he's done right? There's history. That's the scary part también, que this was in his, well, you might go into it, but with lo que enseñaron en el video, se había robado otras cosas, other women's lingerie, so it's like there's history. Yeah, so that adds more to that frustration and that fear to have this person out.
Yeah, and he writes in his journals, how all the apartments he's gone into. So it wasn't only ours, So when people say, "Oh, why did he target us?" I'm sorry, but y'all don't really understand that he was targeting a lot of other people. It wasn't just us. He was going into other people's apartments. He was somehow or another getting other women's panties and all that. So as of now, we're advocating for that is to push investigations and to see if there are any other victims that we're not aware of. And the reason why I'm pushing for that is to continue investigations to see if there's other victims, because if there are, I would want that mother to have closure. I would want those families to have closure. So it's scary to know, that he had all this hidden in his room, under the floorboards, under his pillow, everywhere, scattered in his room. And it's hard to believe that there aren't any other victims.
Has any other victims come forward to you guys at all, or is it still under evidence for the police that they aren't releasing any details on it?
I'm not sure if they pursued those investigations or not. I know that we found out from police, law enforcement, that he was going to Austin a lot, into those areas. So, I mean, if there are any victims toward that area of Austin, there needs to be investigations to see. But as I was told, was he started going towards Edna to find more like a new playground, as to that was their words, right? So
Yeah.
in between Schulenburg, Edna, and Austin, there has to be major investigations moving forward, because that's just something in the back of my mind that I don't want to let go, is that, if he was such a professional of what he did and the way he did it, this was not his first rodeo.
Sure.
He knew he was doing something wrong.
Yeah. The other frustrating part too, it felt like we were being hushed because we were advised not to move court to Austin because the jury wasn't going to be sympathetic, because Edna community could rally together to really, make this case. But honestly, after the fact, I told Jackie, I'm like, I feel like we should have moved the court. It might have gotten more publicity. It might have gotten more resources. It might have made this trial more of a headline, like in Riley's, and even during that time too, Jocelyn Noriega. Though those two cases were huge. I'm like, because they had more publicity, because they were in bigger cities, and if the trial came out, I feel like they would have shown all that evidence that they had found. And it would have been easier for people to come forward to be like, oh, I recognize him, or, oh, I recognize, a certain item of clothing, or I recognize this, I recognize that. But like I said, when you're grieving and when you're going through a process, you assume that the people who are defending you are advising you correctly.
Yeah. That they have the best interest for you guys.
Yes, and that was not the case. And we didn't figure that out, sadly, until the very last minute, until the end, pretty much.
One of the statement releases that the DA and the ADA put out, which was ridiculous. They said that this plea deal had been in the talks for the past 6 months. If you go back and watch all my interviews, I clearly state in each one of those interviews, I want the max penalty for this guy. So, there's no way that this would have been in the talks and that I knew about it. So that was, number one, a lie. And it was disturbing for me to watch. And also the fact that they just came out and why even tell me that there's going to be a trial in October and that we're preparing for this trial if you said in your press release that this was in the talks for 6 months? That doesn't make sense. So you told me and my family and the public basically a lie this whole time, saying there's going to be a trial in October, but in behind closed doors, there was a plea deal being talked about. It's just, it's heartbreaking that, people in office, they're supposed to protect you, didn't, and they lied to their public. They lied to me in my face, and then they stopped me from talking because they said, Jackie, you need to shut up. The exact words from the ADA, Steven Tyler, was, I don't need to be dealing with a crazy mother. I already have enough headaches, and I was like,
are you serious?
I am a crazy mother. I am a mother who's going to do anything for her child. And, I decided to kind of...
But he didn't mean it that way, right? He didn't, yeah.
No, he was just... It was hard. It was hard because I was grieving and... Yeah, I was grieving and I had to fight the justice system. I had to fight these people who are supposed to protect me and my family. So overall, it was just very, very hard.
It was like I said, taken advantage of when you're already in your most vulnerable place. And not to mention also, they were gonna let Jackie read her impact statement, because there wasn't going to be a trial. And they said that, well, we told Jackie to have it ready at this time, and it wasn't ready at this time. We were never told to do it. She was never told to do an impact statement. She was never told when it was due, when they needed it by. And I don't know if you guys realize, but at the end, I forget, David, is that the attorney who helps at the end, Jackie?
Yeah.
A new attorney literally stepped in that last court we had. And he stepped in and he really stood up for us, and he was in front of the defense attorney who was already present. And he was representing us till that same day because of the injustices that he was also seeing. I mean, it was kind of like we were battling our own attorneys with a new attorney because our own attorneys weren't doing what we wanted, and there was no communication, and we were being perceived as this crazy family who didn't know what they were talking about, and who were told all of this, and who were just making all of this up. But honestly, you can tell who the DA's character with that comment that he made, posting on Facebook of all places when the case was still active. Like, what kind of ethic is that? Like, what kind of person does that? Like, it's stupid for you to do that. But again, it shows you the type of person that we were dealing with. And like, sadly, we didn't know until the very last minute, and there was literally nothing we could have done.
And based on that exact way of you guys navigating the justice system, what is something that you wish people would understand, as, some people that don't really know the justice system and have never been in that situation, what they should do, or if you have any advice on how they should go about this type of situation?
Yeah, I would say, and I would tell those people, get your attorneys. Don't rely on the district attorneys. Sometimes they don't want the best for you. They just kind of deal like, oh, it's just a bunch of paperwork. Let's get it done and over with. Kind of what, came out from Steven Tyler's comment saying, he didn't have enough resources to try this case. Would you like to take out of the roads and schools that are being built in order to try this case? So those type of things were uncalled for, of course, but I would definitely tell the families, get your own attorneys, push to get all the information that you can from the district attorneys. Do not allow them to step all over you just because you're vulnerable and because you are grieving. Do not trust them. Do not trust them, because I trusted, and that was the wrong thing to do. Just get your own attorneys, know your fight, and from personal experience. Other people may have better experiences with their district attorneys, but unfortunately, my experience was not that. I had to beg,
And also
like
ask for
Angie said.
opinions.
Yeah, like Angie said, I had to actually beg just to read my victim statement at the end of that plea deal. Like, and it's terrible.
Such an important statement as well.
Yeah, and I should be able to read my statement and not have to fight in order to be heard.
As a person that, that like we read these, impact statements when we cover these episodes. And to us, it really shows, how the family feels. And for you to have that, it's almost reclaiming your power against this person. And for you not to be even able or given the chance to say it's so, it's very, I can't even begin to explain how frustrated it has me, because it's like, that is you. That is what you have to tell them, and the judge and the jury and everybody. And for the DA to just be like, well, we could either build new schools, build the road, blah, 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 all these excuses, or have you be, on trial for this whole situation. For me, it's like, that doesn't matter right now. You are trying to find justice for your child, for what they did to you and your family.
Yep.
And this person is almost like disregarding everything and anything you have to say. Like, if this was nothing to them, it's like, no, this was a person. This was a young girl with dreams and aspirations, and she was a person, and you're not giving them that piece of moment in court to tell the person that took her away what he has taken away from you. So it's just infuriating.
Yeah. Jackie, do you mind if I ask you? And if you don't want to answer, it's okay. But what would you have told him? If you would have had the chance to stand up there, what would you have said? Would you have directed yourself to him?
I would have. I wasn't allowed to, but I would have. I think my main thing to him would be like, why? ¿Por qué me quitaste mi mundo entero? ¿Por qué no tuviste, como dicen nosotros los hispanos, los huevos para irte ¿Por qué tuviste que quitarle la vida? Whatever decision, whatever went through your head, why didn't you just leave her? ¿Por qué hacerle tanto daño? And I don't know if you know the backstory to it or the evidence, but he stabbed her 25 times. ¿Por qué tanto coraje con mi hija? ¿Qué te hizo? Y más que nada decirle, te vas a pudrir en la cárcel. Sí, me quitaste mi hija y yo voy a vivir con esa condena, which it's a life sentence for me, because I have to live with that the rest of my life. I have to live with the images that I saw that day. And he is living peacefully in a cell, being fed by taxpayers' money, which I pay my taxes, so I'm paying for him to sleep and eat. So at the end of the day, I think my rage would have taken over and le diría muchas cosas.
Yeah. And it's completely valid, because this person he's locked up in a cage, but at the same time he's being fed, he's sleeping, he doesn't have to worry about anything. While, you on the other hand you and your family have to go through constant pain and trauma and the fear of having to be looking at every, noise and every corner to make sure that you guys are safe. And also the fact, because I remember that you told us in the conversation that we had, was, even the fear that they had, the detectives and the authorities had given you of this could have been possibly a bigger hit, that it was cartel or it was this or it was that. You had to live throughout this whole traumatic event, and this person is just living in a prison, basically no remorse, because he didn't even fully tell you the reason why, what happened. It was lie against lie against lie against lie. And also even in the video where he's not even taking accountability that he's the one that owned the phone. He's the one that was sending messages, answering phone calls, or the fact that he was trying to put the blame on his, I think, sibling, that they committed the crime or they had the phone for, weeks or months. It's so enraging that even at the moment that he's being confronted, he can't even say one bit of truth, that it always has to be spinned around, and you just kind of have to let it go when it's not fair. You guys are grieving humans that lost a lovely person in the hands of a horrible person that continues to lie.
Yeah, and not only that, but the rage that I felt watching him smirk and laugh during that. How can you be laughing? How can you be smirking? You took my daughter from me. And one of the most creepiest things that I had to deal with and live with was walking into the courtroom. And the way they had that courtroom set up, he was sitting literally across from the courtroom. So every time I would walk in, he would make eye contact with me. And a lot of those times I didn't look away, because I wanted to show him I'm not afraid of you. I'm not scared of you. But there was moments where he would smirk at me, just give me a little smile, and it was enraging. And I honestly don't know how I mean, Angie knows me as a person, and I'm not the type to mess with, if you piss me off, you're done. And I don't know how I held it together to not do something dumb or to say something. I don't know where I got that strength to just sit there and be quiet, just watching him turn and look at me every now and then and smirk. And it was hard.
It was important for us to be there and make him realize that he fucked with the wrong family. Really, if this wasn't his first time, okay, well, this is gonna be your last. And as much as it's hard not having answers, and there's still so much questions that we have, and so much just not knowing the reason why, a little part of me just knowing that he won't never get the chance to hopefully, because we wish that he doesn't have parole, he doesn't get to do this again to any other family, is kind of was okay. That's the only kind of thing that helps me at night and be able to kind of sleep a little easier, is knowing that he won't be able to do this again to anyone else. Because there's no way that's, I said, this is his first time, but it was definitely his last. He messed with the wrong family, the wrong mom, the wrong people, and he got caught because he was stupid. And it's just one of those things where it's just so infuriating. And again, we were looking forward to those answers. As hard as we knew it was going to be, like, we wanted to know the why. We wanted to know the details, because I feel like it's just so much harder not knowing.
And also, like, I think the phone part was very, very important, Dee, because I know you mentioned, because I definitely feel like we would have never found out who did this if he didn't turn that phone back on, if he didn't take that SIM card out. Because how do you find a stranger that you didn't even know and lives an hour away in a whole different town?
Yeah.
I feel like it was God. It really was, because what made him decide to turn that phone back on or put a SIM card in a different phone, or what caused him to do that, and he got caught doing it.
It's a good thing he made these mistakes. It's good that he made them, porque así in so many cases, right, when they make those little small mistakes, that's how they get caught.
It's when they get caught.
Thankfully that he did this, porque así lo pudieron encontrar.
Yeah.
It also infuriates me it makes me kind of glad that he texted Liz's boyfriend at the time. Because he texted him, right, saying like, "Oh, like you."
Contestó una llamada también.
He answered. We have that video.
Answered his phone call, but he responded to other friends. And Jackie, actually, I was reading the affidavit today, and I totally forgot too that he had opened up Eric's Snapchat. Do you remember that? Yeah. I had totally forgot about that too. That he had opened up one of Liz's other cousins that was with us in Texas, and I think he had just Snapchatted her, and it got opened. And that's kind of how we were realizing too that, okay, this is active. So again, I don't know. We don't know if it was him or if, like, again, the brother, right? The brother not knowing anything, like, was just kind of like, oh, why am I getting these random snaps?
It had to be him.
But whatever.
It had to be him because Snapchat was only on her phone. So I don't know exactly how he did it.
Sorry. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, because the Snapchat was on her phone, so I'm not sure exactly how he did it.
Yeah.
I remember that, like, in that body cam footage, they were saying that he answered phone calls, so they kept trying to, her friends were trying to call back or, like, text her or ask her, to go to the gym with them. And for me, that just shows that her friends really, really cared about her and weren't going to stop until they found out who this person was. Yeah. And I remember telling Ali that broke me a little, because this whole video of the case was just heartbreaking. And I remember getting teary-eyed at the whole clip of it, the whole video. But realizing that a lot of the cases that hit me really hard is when friends that love this person get so involved into the point that they're like, this person has his phone on. We need a call. We need a text. We need to make noise. And as a family, you are seen as to be the person that fights for your child or for your cousin or for your niece, your nephew. But to have people around your child that is willing to say,
to love her.
No, this isn't going to happen. We're going to fight for you, even though you're gone. To me, it was completely heartbreaking, because the more that I see these cases and the more that I see friends really coming in together and families working together, trying to find justice for their loved one, it just shows the humanity and the fact that there's still good people out there, regardless of the worst of the worst that are out there. So for me, truly, I'm just glad that Liz had those people in her life, and you guys had those people too, to help you navigate through the first couple of steps of this case. And I'm sure they still are around, but it also reflects the type of love that Liz had for them, and they extended their love to you and your family.
And random people too. Like, I remember when we had a last court date, I would turn to Jackie and be like, who are these people? She's like, I have no idea. But the emotion that they would share and just be there, it was in the middle of the day. Like, it was a weekday, middle of the day. Her friends took, time off of their day, their family, just random people from the community, people who were there from the very beginning. Just to see them come back almost the 2 years later, like, that they were still there was really moving. And then, like you said, sometimes it does take you back. It shocks you. You're like, who is this person and why are they here? But we forget that the gravity of it, and we forget, like, this was national news. We forget that this is a small community, and I do forget, right? Because for us, she's important. She always will be, but we forget that there's other people out there who were in contact with her, did know her, and cared for her. And it's baffling to realize the gravity of it, but it's also really nice to witness that as well, of the fact that how much she impacted, and how much she was loved, and how much her love brought other people together. And it was really nice to see all of those people come together again.
Yeah, this story definitely impacted a lot of people, and I remember a lot of the Texas Rangers were there, the ones that were involved in the case, and I remember one of the Texas Rangers, very teary-eyed, he said, "Jacqueline, I'm sorry. You know, I spent so many hours, so many nights working this case, just to make sure, that we got the justice that, we were working so hard for." But he literally said to me, I did my job and I handed over, and, I can't control what happens. And it was just heartbreaking because he literally told me, like, this case changed me. This case hit me hard. And hearing that from, someone who deals with these type of things on a daily basis, it was very impacting.
Yeah, we knew that if it was up to the cops, that guy would have probably not made it into jail. One of them was like, he's like, well, you know what? I believe in an eye for an eye, but he's like, I can't. He's like, but don't. He's like, don't quote me on that. He's like, don't pretend I didn't say that. But it's one of those things where the Texas Rangers, then the Edna police did exactly what they were supposed to do, and the fact that it doesn't, they just do their jobs on the daily, and they have no say in what comes next in the justice system. And to see them all there still supporting, and as outraged as we were as a family, and them getting teary-eyed because she didn't get the justice that she deserved, makes you realize, wow, we really were fucked over. Like, if their own, like, police and their own Texas Rangers are saying these things and feeling this type of way, then we really did not get the justice that she deserved. So, like I said, it was one of those things where it's heartbreaking to see, because it's not fair.
Why do you guys think they made that decision? Why do you think, like, this was the outcome of the sentences, or that they treated you all like this?
I think, as a lot of people told me, I get messages all day, every day about people in the community saying, "Jacqueline, in the years we've lived here, you're the only person who has kept these people on their toes." And I believe they didn't like that. And so we were treated in such a way because, I don't think they really realized at the beginning who they were dealing with. And once they saw it, I put them on blast a few times. I didn't care. And I put them on blast because they deserved it. If you're not communicating to the victim's family, or even trying to keep them in the loop, or, push them to the side, then you deserve what's coming for you. And so I believe that, they were upset at the fact that, you got a crazy mother, as Steven Tyler said. And then also the fact that he made the comment saying that, they basically treated my daughter as an expense. Her life was an expense to them, because mentioning the fact that it's too expensive to go to trial, what does that tell you? It tells you that money was the issue. It wasn't the evidence. It wasn't what happened. It wasn't none of that. It was the money to go and take this to trial. But yet you're giving this man 3 attorneys, because he had 3 attorneys. What about my daughter? What about my daughter's rights? What about her right of being safe at home? What about that? What about her life? So it was very disturbing to watch. And by the comments that were said by the ADA, it was obvious this was all about money. It wasn't about not sufficient evidence. It wasn't about closure for the family, as he said. It wasn't none of that, because I don't care if I would have to wait another year. I would have waited if we were going to go to trial. But we had already waited long enough. So what's another year? But, he gave us that dumb excuse of saying, oh, it's for closure for the family. You guys should get closure now. Like, no, now I'm even more upset as I was before, because now I don't have those answers that I probably would have got through trial, or the outcome that we were expecting is not even there. So I believe it was all about money. But it's very important to mention that I definitely believe the injustice of this case was due to money. It takes about,
Mm-hmm.
I think they said from beginning to grave, it takes about $2 million. And they weren't going to spend that on my daughter's case. They didn't want to. They preferred to, I
Wow.
think, work on other things than spend money on the trial,
Mm-hmm.
which is definitely upsetting to watch.
Yeah,
Yeah.
again, why not be honest with us? Why not be like, okay, we can't do this here. We're too small. We don't have the money. Move it to Austin. Like, again,
Yeah.
advise us, right? Like, tell us what we can do for us to be able to do this, to get to trial, to get the justice we deserve. But no, they just decided to sweep it under the rug and just call it a day, and that's it.
Wow, that's crazy.
¿Roncas? ¿Jadeas cuando duermes? ¿Te sientes exhausto? Despierta con Zepbound, tirzepatida, la primera y única medicina recetada aprobada por la FDA para la apnea obstructiva del sueño AOS de moderada a severa en adultos con obesidad. Zepbound es una medicina inyectable recetada que podría ayudar a los adultos con apnea obstructiva del sueño AOS de moderada a severa y obesidad a mejorar su AOS. Zepbound debe usarse con una dieta baja en calorías y más actividad física. La inyección de Zepbound está aprobada en inyección de 2.5, 5, 7.5, 10, 12.5 o 15 miligramos. Zepbound contiene tirzepatida y no debe utilizarse con otros productos que contengan tirzepatida ni con ningún medicamento agonista del receptor GLP-1. Se desconoce si Zepbound es seguro y eficaz en niños. No compartas agujas ni plumas, ni reutilices las agujas. No uses Zepbound si eres alérgico a este o si tú o un familiar han tenido cáncer medular de tiroides o síndrome de neoplasia endocrina múltiple tipo 2. Infórmale al médico si tienes un bulto o inflamación en el cuello. Suspende Zepbound y llama al médico si tienes problemas estomacales severos o una reacción alérgica severa. Serios efectos secundarios podrían incluir páncreas inflamado o problemas de vesícula. Infórmale al médico sobre cambios de visión, depresión o pensamientos suicidas antes de procedimientos con anestesia programados. Si estás lactando, embarazada, planeas estarlo o estás tomando pastillas anticonceptivas. Usar Zepbound con sulfonilurea o insulina puede causar niveles bajos de azúcar en la sangre. Efectos secundarios incluyen náusea, diarrea y vómito, lo que puede causar deshidratación y empeorar problemas renales. Habla con tu médico. Llama al 1-800-545-5979 o visita zepbound.lily.com/ES.
And with all of this political aspect of the case, when it comes to not wanting to spend money on trying to get a proper trial, do you think that at some point, with the talk of immigration and what's going on with what was happening with this case, were people in the right or the left were taking your case as leverage to a political agenda?
Yeah, definitely. Everybody used it as they pleased. To me, it wasn't political. To me, it was more about accountability. And why I say that is because, you need to understand that this was preventable. It was all preventable from the beginning. I feel like, our government failed us from the beginning, before my daughter passed and after. Before, why? Because this man had previous criminal history. Any other time he would have been deported, but he wasn't. He was let on a long leash to do whatever he pleased, and therefore he continued stalking us, and he committed burglary into our apartment in November, and then December he took my daughter's life. So if protocol and policies were enforced, Lizbeth would still be here. And now the other way they used my daughter's death was to say, well, what about the other Americans that commit crimes and this and that? Well, this isn't the case, is it? If it was the case, we could go ahead and talk about it. But unfortunately, it's not the case. And, if you go into percentages, it might make a difference. I don't care whether it does or not. Why? Because the facts are there. What happened, and it shouldn't have happened. It should have been prevented. That's why there's laws that protect us. Fortunately, those laws weren't enforced, and we're here now. So, the left or the right will use it as they please. I believe my daughter's death was preventable. And, if we can prevent any mother from living the pain and the injustice that I did, why not try to prevent it, right? Or, if we can prevent another child from being murdered or taken or abused, why not prevent it? And again, it comes to say, anybody is capable of murder, right? But in this case, that wasn't. In my daughter's case, unfortunately, it was an undocumented person, and we got to look at it as it is. We can't close our eyes to the facts because of our emotions. As Hispanics, as Latinos, we go off of our emotions to say, oh, but not all immigrants are the same. Oh, but this, oh, but that. Unfortunately, you have to think with your brain, not your emotion, and say, the facts state this. This is what happened, and I do get a lot of backlash, but I get more support than not from even Hispanics and Latinos because they understand my pain. They understand that this was preventable.
Is there any sort of, now that the case is quote unquote closed as of now, is there something that now that you and your family are doing in order to change the system, or trying to change the way the justice system works towards towards what happened in your case? Like, is there something that you guys are working on in order to make a change?
Yeah, so one of the changes that we're trying to make is in the court system, how they failed us. Trying to have the victim's family be seen. What they did to us was terrible as a family, a grieving family at that, and no other family should go through that. And so that's one of our focuses. Another one of our focuses is harsher and more stricter laws to when it comes to immigration. If those laws are already there, they should be enforced. And so that's another one of the legislations that I'm looking towards, is to just reinforce the law when it comes to it. I understand not every single immigrant falls under this category, but unfortunately the law is the law, regardless of whether we like it or not. It's the law. So just enforcing those laws, so that no other mother has to go through this. No other mother has to question, but why didn't this happen? Why didn't that happen? Well, if this should have happened, my daughter would still be alive if the federal government would have done their job, or if only the sheriff would have done their job, or, you minimize a mother in pain having to ask herself those questions.
How do you both carry Liz's legacy now? I know that Angie had spoke that she is now doing advocacy and trying to, help other people. How do you carry her legacy with you? It could be either, your own personal way that you carry her, or more like visible, like for instance, the activism. How do you both navigate this now with how to carry on Liz's memory?
Mainly what I'm trying to do is show the world who Lizbeth was. And when I say that is, Lizbeth loved helping everyone. And so we got a group of people who put together a cheerleader fund for Edna. And that's done once a year, where they give a scholarship to a cheerleader so that they can have, a scholarship for cheerleading, because, at the end of the day, it does become a little bit expensive. And then I'm working on a foundation as well. Every Christmas and when it's her birthday, we work on different charities. So I think the first charity that we did just put a whole bunch of books. We did toys, blankets, snack, all for a child advocacy. And then for her birthday, I went and made chemo care packages for children. And we went to the hospitals to hand those out for children in need of those. And, every time we're doing something different, just to remind people, this is what me and Liz would do. And I want to carry that on. She's not here now, but she's with me in spirit. And I know she would be so happy for me to continue doing this, going to hospitals, donating to children in need. Whenever we had a chance, we would donate to charity to the child advocacy. So that's what we continue doing now.
For me, like Dee said, I had mentioned to you guys that I now work for a crisis center for domestic violence, and along with domestic violence is that stalking. And obviously for me now, stalking comes really close to my heart because essentially she was stalked before she was killed. So just the advocacy work really, again, like Jackie says, helping people, because that's something I know she would have ended up doing wherever she landed, if that was being a nurse or her mind or her goals. Like, she just wanted to help people or make people feel a certain way, special. And I also see it with like her nails and her eyelashes. Like, she just wanted to make people feel special and loved. And I have no doubt in my mind that she would have, given the chance, she would have changed the world. For me, it's the small things of like being a better person, doing the advocacy work that I'm doing. But also for me, I made her a lot of promises when I was in Texas, and I spoke to her a lot while I was down there, and just keeping those promises that I made for her. And one of the biggest ones, it was that I was always going to be here for her family, no matter what, no matter how busy life got, no matter what came my way, I was always going to be that support for them. And like, obviously, till Jackie wants me here, like, I will continue fighting for her and fighting for justice, not only for her but for other families who have gone through this, and just loving and like she did, and being goofy like she did. I know sometimes it's hard for us to like find those moments, and when I get really sad, I remember just how goofy she was, and I'm like, I know she wouldn't want me to be sad, but it's hard. And then I also lived through her by like being around family a lot, and knowing that you just never know when our last days are. I'm very close, again, with my cousin Priscilla. Like, her and Liz, that bond was also very special. They were like sisters, literally. And me kind of just taking care of her, watching over her, and because I know that's what Liz would have done if she was still here, and just kind of living vicariously through her and for her, and making sure that I do everything possible to live the life she would have wanted. And obviously she's not here to live that life, so just trying my best to make her proud and do all the things that she would have wanted to do, and just continue supporting not only her family but Jackie as well, because that's just the person she was.
And I'm sure Liz would be absolutely proud of both of you and her whole family, because you guys have done the most absolute work. And I know wherever Liz is, she's looking down at both of you with so much pride for being such wonderful humans, and also, carrying her legacy through, talking about her and telling her story.
And doing it together. Kind of, you guys are there together, supporting each other.
Exactly, because for her, family was important, and for you guys, family is important. So I'm sure that's what's keeping her memory alive. But for, I guess, to round this whole
I did want to ask something.
Out.
I wanted to ask something, because I know that, Jackie, you were talking about the political aspect of it. I wanted to ask, because I know, Angie, when we talked in the past, you kind of hit more on that, how her picture was being like posted and being used. Can you talk a little bit more on that? I know, like, it sounds like Jackie was going into, and I wanted to ask, like, you, like, I know you had brought that up last. If you can talk a little bit more on that.
Yeah, I mean, like, I was kind of telling you guys and how Jackie had gone into it with everything that was going on with ICE. We realized that her case was not her case. Her picture was being used. And not even like people were interested in her case. People were just making collages or slideshows, videos of people who had unfortunately been killed by immigrants. And it was something that, like, for me specifically was hard, because, again, they were just using her face. It wasn't like, oh, let's look into this case and see more about it, learn more about it, or see who this girl was. She was just another face in a post, and it was really hard to see that. But again, like I was just telling you guys, like, at the end of the day, like, people were coming up to us and be like, why aren't you saying anything? Like, why aren't you telling people to stop? Or why aren't you getting online and like having not allow people to use her picture? And I'm like, again, how we were talking about earlier, you can't fight the internet. The internet's going to use their own perspective, and they're going to think what they want to think. At the end of the day, her picture's going to be used, like Jackie was saying, for the left, for the right, for their own narrative. And we can't fight that. We can't. The only thing that we can do and kind of twist it into a positive light of, like, people who are now interested in her case, we're using that momentum for us to now show who Lizbeth was let everyone know of the injustices and let people know about her case. But again, like Jackie's saying, like at the end of the day, we can't, as a family, fight it. We can't fight it. The internet's such a big thing, and people are going to think what they want to think. And us as a family know what we stand for and what we believe in. And like Jackie mentioned, we just want to make sure that doesn't happen again. But again, the left and the right were both using her picture for good or for wrong or for whatever the case is. But it wasn't about Liz. It wasn't, people didn't even know her name, right? People were just in the comments like, oh, who is that? Or who, like people, she was just a face. And again, we can't fight it. So it was just one of those things where we have to learn to twist things into a positive thing. And we have now been having a lot more support, more momentum, more eyes on us. And we're going to use that as a positive thing and make sure people do know who Liz is from here on out.
Yeah, I want to reiterate from the beginning. I remember December of 2023, there was a different administration at the time. And I remember telling my family, Angie, everybody was there. And I remember saying exactly these words: the nation will know my daughter's name. I will make sure of that. And I will make sure that if I have to, I'm going to take this to the president. I didn't know who the president was going to be during my journey. I didn't foresee any of that. Of course, at the time, Biden was in the White House, and now when I went to the State of the Union, and I was present there, it was Trump. So a lot of people will twist things to their own narrative, but regardless of who the president was, my goal was to take it there and for people to understand our fight and to join us in our fight so that there can be change. Because there is no change if you don't stand up and if you don't have action. That's important to say, that regardless of who was in office, I was going to get there.
And do want to say, Liz, and you probably have heard this already, Jackie, so many times, but Liz has a very strong mom. And honestly, you found that strength. And I think, you found it for your daughter. I could imagine there were days, especially in the beginning, that shock that you went through, right? No one deserves to find their child this way. No one deserves to see their child like this or to have that last image of their child. And for you to go through all of that and find that strength in the beginning where you had those days where you didn't want to eat, you didn't want to go out, like you found that strength. And that shows just who you are as a person and as a mom and that bond that you had with your daughter. And you're going to keep fighting. You're going to keep fighting, not just for your daughter, but possibly, for other victims or not even on just this case with this person, right? With this monster. It's helping others.
Yeah.
And you found that strength and, commend also just Angie, you and the rest of the family, you being there for Jackie, being that strength. You guys were there for her too, right? Because in the beginning, I think, Jackie, you were just in shock. Days were passing, hours were passing. There's probably times when you were like in a fog, right? Yeah. And your family was the one that was there for you. And it shows the support that you had and the love that you all have for each other. And that says a lot about all of you as a family and the strength that you carry. And, Liz was lucky to have you all, and you were all lucky to have her too.
Yeah. Yeah, no, totally agree. I can honestly say that she is the strength that I use on a daily basis. There are times that I can't get out of bed or I feel like, wow, I have to live the rest of my life feeling this pain. To me is so long. And immediately I remember and I say, wait, Liz is with you. Liz is watching. And you can't be defeated. And so I take that and I make it into my strength, because I know that she wouldn't want to see me this way. And if she's watching, which more than likely she's always with me, I don't want her to see me sad or see me upset. So whenever I do feel like I'm slowly going into that hole, I remember that and I say, okay, get up, get out, let's go, get up, because she's gonna see you this way. And that's how I use it, she's my strength.
That's wonderful. and that's the strength of a mother, and always being guided by this, and tragically it had to work out that way, but for whatever reason. But I'm just so happy that your daughter is pushing you to do all of this, and from us to you, we're so thankful that you are open to us, and to talk about this, even though these the wound is kind of opening up whenever you talk about it. We just want to say how thankful and how appreciated we are that you are willing to talk about her, and even if it's remembering her, her through what she's done in her short life, and what her legacy is still being continued to do even after her life. I just want to say that we really appreciate you for doing this for us, for future people that will be watching your case, and admiring the strength that you have for going through all of this, and still coming out and fighting for her justice. So yeah, we wanted to say thank you so much for both of you for joining us, and for giving us your time and talking about the case, and giving us an insight on the whole case, and truly for opening up to us, because I know it's not easy, and we really, really appreciate it.
Yeah, and I want to thank you both for always being respectful with my daughter, and the story, since the beginning, when I first heard y'all's podcast on my daughter's story. Y'all were one of the first ones that I thought of when I said, if we're gonna talk and do a podcast, they're the ones who we need to start with.
Yeah, I mean, same.
Thank you.
Thank you for being respectful. Thank you for allowing us this space. And just thank you. We're grateful as well.
And with that, I think we basically answered all the questions that we had. And I just kind of want to close it off with saying, if asking you guys, what would you want our listeners to carry with them about Liz's story, and what they should remember her as, and yeah, we want to just end it with that.
I just want everybody to remember Liz as, for those of the people that didn't get to meet her, just remember, she was an amazing soul, kind-hearted. She defended those who couldn't defend themselves, family or friends or classmates. She always fought for people who couldn't fight for themselves, or she always had sweet words to say to people who needed to hear them in their hardest moments. Lizbeth was a kind soul, also ambitious, but she just wanted to help. She wanted to be that helping person for everybody, and I want her to be remembered as that she was such a loving, funny, beautiful soul. And I guess this story should also remind everybody, death is not the end. And yes, she was taken, but just remind everybody that she's always with us, just in a different form, So if you have lost someone and you feel lost, just remember they're with you. Maybe not in the same way that they were before, but they're still with you. And maybe that will serve some people and fill their hearts with some type of love. But just remind people, if you ever need help, reach out. Everybody grieves differently. And especially, don't assume things of others. Reflect on our story, how we were put through pain because of others assuming, or, pointing the fingers. We need to change things, and we need to be better. We need to be better people. Overall, just people need to hear the story, and have, I guess, just remember Liz. Just remember Liz as a great person she was, and not what happened to her.
Yeah, I mean, I could be like, same. No, but yeah, I mean, I always think of what would Liz do? What would Liz want? I always say, oh, just live like Liz, literally. I mean, she loved so hard and she cared so deeply, and she had a big heart. So not only just use her as an example of how to live as a person, but also how to love, and just a reminder of what that life is short too. I mean, I feel like that's the biggest lesson I've learned. Enjoy the moments with your loved ones, and the life's just too short sometimes. And unfortunately, hers was way too short. But also it makes me happy remembering that I got her in my life for the short time. But the life is too short just to be bitter, be sad, be mad, or whatever the case is, because you never know.
That's wonderful. But yeah, with that, I think we concluded this part of the episode.
Yeah.
Thank you so much for sharing and for being a part of this.
For being vulnerable, and for being here, and for being here for her. And for, you're advocating for others too. So, thank you both for doing that as well.
Thank you so much. And this was part 2 of our interview with Jackie and Angie. Just want to say thank you so much to both of them for opening up to us and for letting us interview them, and for just being so kind and so lovely to us, and so vulnerable, and speaking on a topic that's so difficult for them to talk about, because we know it's losing a loved one, and we know how difficult that must be for them, especially with everything that happened after getting the sentencing and the injustice that happened. So, and we know that they're continuing their fight when it comes to, have the proper justice, as well as trying to continue Lizbeth's legacy. So, we just want to say thank you so much for letting us talk to you guys, and for spending the afternoon with us. Yeah. And for, just for being absolutely wonderful human beings.
And they're a beautiful family.
They are. They definitely are. And we really, really appreciate everything that they've done, and their constant fight when it comes to getting the justice that they deserve for themselves, as well as for Lizbeth.
Finding that strength, right, to help others too.
Yeah, definitely. Because I feel like overall, the way that Jackie mentioned how, her and Lizbeth would donate and continue to spread so much love to others, and then now how she is spreading that love even more by sponsoring a cheerleader and donating a scholarship for them, and continuing Lizbeth's legacy that way. I think it's wonderful. And the way that Angie's activism kind of started because of this, because she wanted to, make the world a better place. So for us, I think overall it's a tragic case. It really is. It's brutally tragic. But at the same time, I love how they take that anger and that sadness and push it out to make a positive impact in the world. So thank you both so much for having us and for talking to us, and we really appreciate it. But yeah, if you want to talk about this case, we have our platforms open for you guys. We have Twitter, or X as it's known now, Instagram, Threads, Blue Sky, Facebook, and YouTube. Just type in Surveillance Macabro Podcast or at SVSM_podcast, and our platforms should pop up. Make sure to follow, like, subscribe, all those nice things. We would really, really appreciate it. We're slowly growing our platforms and trying to have people engage with us, because it helps us a lot as a podcast, as well as trying to increase our engagement and have people talk to us.
And build a community.
Yeah, and
have for each other too.
It definitely, I feel like overall we love that everybody in this community is so knit together, and they're so kind, and when people come up to us and talk to us about it, we love that you guys care so much about the cases, and are so deeply involved in it. And so we would really, really appreciate to grow our platforms more so we can expand the voice of those who are voiceless or are continuing the fight for justice. So if you guys can, please like, subscribe, share, comment, do all those fun things. And we would really appreciate it. If you want to listen to the rest of the 166 still, I think.
Yeah.
Episodes, you could go on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, Amazon Music, or wherever you stream podcasts. Just type in So My God Podcast, and our catalog should be there. We also have a YouTube channel where you can listen to the audio version of this, or you can watch the video portion of this episode. Just type in So My God Podcast or at SVSM_podcast, and our podcast should pop up on YouTube where you can subscribe and you can like and you could comment, as well as see all of our videos there, our shorts and all those good stuff. And yeah, let's see, what else? Am I forgetting anything?
I think that's it.
I think that's it.
You're good.
Yeah, so starting next week, we will have a new episode, and it's officially going to be April, which is crazy to say because
this year is going by so fast.
It has. I mean, January felt like 3 months, February felt like a week, right. And then March felt like a week. So this month is passing really by.
How is it March?
I know.
Yeah, I'm like, how is it March? And it's already feeling hot.
Oh, yeah.
I'm like, the summer's starting.
I know that the East Coast has a snowstorm or like a blizzard, all those stuff.
Oh no,
we get it. But California is in 100-degree weather. Make it stop.
It needs to chill.
Yeah, it needs to chill. But yeah. Any recommendations? Anything? Are you watching anything?
Not right. I don't got time to be watching nothing.
I know. She's been busy with work. I do have
busy.
I have recommendations.
Okay.
I went to watch The Bride a couple of weeks ago. Great movie. Very feminist oriented, about finding your voice and finding the strength to move past the stigma of sticking it to the man, I guess. It's a really great film. Some people really hate it because the plot is like mixed in there, but I personally really enjoyed it. And it's The Bride, so I love her. I've also been catching up to Love Story again. Loved it. Paul Anthony, I think his name is Paul Anthony Kelly. Gorgeous man. Gorgeous man. It's been a fun series. I know it's controversial because of the whole Ryan Murphy thing, but it's still a good series. And yeah, I'm trying to think. I've been catching up on my reading. I'm on.
Oh, good.
I finished the. I think I said that already, but I finished the Janet McCurdy.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, and then I started, and now Back to You, which is the second book to BK. I forgot her name. BK something, but it's a really good book. It's a really romance book. So in case anybody wants to read that, go ahead. It's a really lovely book. And yeah, I think those are my recommendations for now. Oh yeah, and then the Harry Styles album is really good. But that's my own personal little twist.
If you haven't listened to it, there's something wrong with you. I'm kidding.
But yeah, that's pretty much it from my point of view. But yeah.
Nice. I'm glad you're reading.
Thank you. I'm trying my best. I'm trying my best. I should have been on like 3-4 books by now, but I'm taking it slow.
Wait, no, everybody's different.
Exactly.
And you do you.
Exactly. But yeah, I think that's about it for this week. Unless you have anything else.
Nope, nothing else.
Nothing else. So please enjoy your weekend. Stay hydrated.
Yeah.
And we'll see you guys next week.
Nos vemos soon. Nos vemos soon.
We'll see you soon.
Nos vemos pronto.
Calm down, Spanglish.
Sorry.
Sorry.
Perdónenme. Sorry. Sorry, guys.
But
I
yeah,
was like, hold on. I got stuck. I was like, "Ooh." I'm like,
you're like,
soon.
translation. But until next time, have a great
Alright.
weekend. Have a great week.
Yes.
And we'll see you guys soon.
Adios.
Bye. Stay spooky.
Bye.
Bye.
¿Roncas? ¿Jadeas cuando duermes? ¿Te sientes exhausto? Despierta con Zepbound, tirzepatida, la primera y única medicina recetada aprobada por la FDA para la apnea obstructiva del sueño AOS de moderada a severa en adultos con obesidad. Zepbound es una medicina inyectable recetada que podría ayudar a los adultos con apnea obstructiva del sueño AOS de moderada a severa y obesidad a mejorar su AOS. Zepbound debe usarse con una dieta baja en calorías y más actividad física. La inyección de Zepbound está aprobada en inyección de 2.5, 5, 7.5, 10, 12.5 o 15 miligramos. Zepbound contiene tirzepatida y no debe utilizarse con otros productos que contengan tirzepatida ni con ningún medicamento agonista del receptor GLP-1. Se desconoce si Zepbound es seguro y eficaz en niños. No compartas agujas ni plumas, ni reutilices las agujas. No uses Zepbound si eres alérgico a este o si tú o un familiar han tenido cáncer medular de tiroides o síndrome de neoplasia endocrina múltiple tipo 2. Infórmale al médico si tienes un bulto o inflamación en el cuello. Suspende Zepbound y llama al médico si tienes problemas estomacales severos o una reacción alérgica severa. Serios efectos secundarios podrían incluir páncreas inflamado o problemas de vesícula. Infórmale al médico sobre cambios de visión, depresión o pensamientos suicidas, antes de procedimientos con anestesia programados. Si estás lactando, embarazada, planeas estarlo o estás tomando pastillas anticonceptivas. Usar Zepbound con sulfonilurea o insulina puede causar niveles bajos de azúcar en la sangre. Efectos secundarios incluyen náusea, diarrea y vómito, lo que puede causar deshidratación y empeorar problemas renales. Habla con tu médico. Llama al 1-800-545-5979 o visita zepbound.lily.com/ES.